Venezuela secures over 11 million vaccines through the Covax initiative. St Vincent and the Grenadines receives 20 tons of humanitarian aid from Venezuela. And also, Serbians rally to demand better protection of the environment. From the headquarters of TeleSUR English in Havana, Cuba, this is From the South. I'm Gladys Quesada. Venezuela's Vice President Delcy Rodriguez has announced that the government paid around $64 million to gain access to over 11,374,000 vaccines through the Covax initiative. This is about the 50% of the vaccines allocated for Venezuela through the initiative and will allow the vaccination of about 20% of Venezuela's population.
Venezuela have managed to secure funds for about 50% of vaccine allocated to us through the Covax initiative, thanks to international, diplomatic, and legal negotiations. As you might know, the Covax initiative needs some advance payment, and the Venezuelan government has now secured the double of the minimal necessary prepayment. We have deposited around 59.2 million Swiss francs to the designated Covax account. This means that the Covax initiative has received an equivalent of $64 million in order to secure the vaccination of the Venezuelan people. The other $60 million requested by the Covax initiative are guaranteed as well, and when it is required, our government will transfer this amount as well.
And the Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez has confirmed that Caracas will also produce the Cuban COVID-19 vaccine Abdala. The state-owned pharmaceutical company Espromet Bio will produce the Cuban jab that Venezuela plans to use in the vaccination campaign as well. Abdala is the final stage of phase 3 clinical trials and has so far proven to be safe and effective. On Thursday, the Vice President and Cuban ambassador to Venezuela, Dagoberto Gomez, visited the lab to verify the required conditions for the production of the vaccine. According to Cuba's Health Minister, José Ángel Portal, his country's 2 vaccine candidates currently in phase 3 trials, Abdala and Soberano 2, are safe, create a positive immune response, and side effects are rare and usually mild. La Soufrière volcano in St Vincent and the Grenadines erupted twice on Friday, sending thousands of panicked locals fleeing to safety. This is the first time the volcano erupted since 1979. The initial blast from La Soufrière sent plumes of hot ash and smoke 6,000 meters into the air on Friday morning, while a second smaller eruption in afternoon belched out a 4,000-meter high ash cloud. Prime Minister Ralph Gonsalves had already declared a disaster alert on Thursday when seismic activity suggested that the volcano would erupt soon. The island of St Vincent was later placed on red alert, which is the highest threat level. Thousands of people were evacuated from the affected area. According to the University of the West Indies in Trinidad and Tobago, the volcano is now likely to keep erupting for days or weeks. The Prime Minister of St Vincent and the Grenadines, Ralph Gonsalves, has said that researchers are currently analyzing samples of the volcanic ash to determine how long La Soufrière is likely to keep erupting. As the Prime Minister revised the emergency situation on the ground, he also said it will take an enormous amount of work to clean up all the ash, which could become unsafe if rain falls in it.
13 million cubic meters of material which had formed the dome approximately in the volume, which has been blown away, and new material is also coming up from in the volcano, and fortunately a lot of the material has gone to the sea, but a lot is here, and a lot, I was just talking to Mia Motley, the PM of Barbados, and a lot has reached Barbados. And we don't know how long this spewing is going to take place. The seismologists don't know, in fact, what the work they're doing. They're collecting samples. And through their testing, they're going to be able to give us some indication as to what do they think. Of course, it's not a precise science when you're doing these prognoses. This cleaning up is going to be massive, as you can see already. This is not. Remember this. The weight of this and the nature of this. Mashing up houses already, you know. Crashing the roofs, crashing the windows and doors.
The government of Venezuela has sent 20 tons of humanitarian aid to St Vincent and the Grenadines following the eruption of La Soufriere volcano. Sent in a military ship, the ship included food, water, and other emergency supplies. A team of 15 Venezuelan Rex experts were also sent to aid the Caribbean nation in search and rescue efforts. The team will also help with hospital work, logistics, and communications as St Vincent and braces itself for further eruptions and tremors. And we'll take a short break now. Join us again after this. Welcome back to From the South. As Peruvians prepare to head to the polls on Sunday to choose a new president and Congress, many continue to express doubts about the process and who to vote for. A total of 18 presidential candidates are running in the vote, with no clear favorite and polls indicating the possible of a high level of blank ballots.
I certainly feel very unprotected because there is no accurate information about this election, which should be provided by the health and electoral authorities. The thing is that people will be in somewhat difficult situation as they vote, where maybe they didn't have time to evaluate the candidates who are in this general election. So I think that this will somehow shape the election, because it will be a bit confusing.
The tensions of undocumented asylum seekers on the U.S. border with Mexico soared in March to over 172,000, the highest number in 15 years, as the United States continues to report people trying to enter its territory, despite promises by the Biden administration to end the harsh immigration policies of former President Donald Trump.
They kicked us out as if, I don't want to say the word, but they kicked us out as it was nothing. They didn't test us in the United States for COVID-19. They didn't test us.
We don't have a safe distance between them. Many don't have face masks. Often, children are malnourished. These are the circumstances of where they have been in these times.
Authorities in the Brazilian city of Rio de Janeiro have announced a partial easing of COVID-19 restrictions, claiming that conditions had improved despite a growing number of fatalities. The measure was issued with immediate effect, allowing restaurants, shops, bars and beaches to reopen with reduced opening hours and also strict sanitary protocols, such as the mandatory use of masks. Rio's mayor, Eduardo Paes, said restrictions could be reimposed if infection rates increase again. In Chile, a tourism boom in the seaside resort of Valparaiso during the austral summer has led to an explosive increase in coronavirus infections.
We believe that this increase is directly related to several factors, but one of them is the holiday permit, which allowed a significant number of people to travel to districts in our region in a festive spirit of rest, relaxation and disconnection after a very bad year. The atmosphere is palpable. In hospitals that are collapsed, that are in total COVID mode. That means patients have to wait 4, 6 or 8 hours for medical attention in emergency rooms.
Syrian President Idris Deby closed his election campaign on Friday as the country prepares to head to the polls on Sunday when he is running for a sixth term in office. Deby is widely expected to win in the first round, in part because of two of the leading opposition candidates withdrew from the race as part of a boycott, while a third man considered a top contender chose to not run. The only remaining opposition candidate that has had the resources to campaign outside the capital of the country is Albert Pahimi Padaki, a one-time ally of the president who served as prime minister for 2016 to 2018. Deby, a former army commander-in-chief, first came to power in 1990 when his rebel forces overthrew then President Hissène Habré, who was later convicted of human rights abuses at an international court. Presidential elections were held in the small African nation of Djibouti this Friday, where President Ismail Omar Guelleh is expected to secure a fifth term in office. Some 215,000 citizens were registered to vote, with polling stations opening early across the nation, which overlooks one of the world's busiest trade routes between Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. Election observers say the process ran smoothly. Counting started shortly after polling stations closed around 7 p.m. If no candidate receives a majority of votes, a second round will be held on April 23rd. President Ismail Omar Guelleh has ruled the country for the past 22 years.
The election has taken place in good conditions. Thank God it has been peaceful, and above all, thank God the people came out to participate. Now we will wait for the results. I have fulfilled my responsibility.
The Tunisian president has visited Egypt's capital Cairo to meet his counterpart President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi for talks on the Libyan conflict. Following the meeting, President el-Sisi said Egypt and Tunisia are going to provide all the support necessary for Libya to hold general elections in December. The two leaders also discussed about the massive dam that Ethiopia is building on the Nile River's main tributary. The Tunisian president has promised to back Egypt's position on the dam construction dispute.
مستوى التبادل التجاري أو الاستثماري وتم التأكيد كذلك على أهمية تعزيز التعاون الأمنية والاقتصادية والاجتماعية ومجمل القضايا.
Iran has started its advanced uranium enrichment centrifuge as the country marks its National Nuclear Technology Day. President Hassan Rouhani inaugurated his technological project at the uranium enrichment plant in a ceremony. The move follows an opening round of talks in Vienna on Tuesday with representatives of the remaining parties to the nuclear deal on bringing the United States back into it. All sides said the talks, in which Washington is not participating directly but has the European Union as intermediary, had got off to a good start. Iran has demanded that the United States first lift all sanctions imposed by Trump, which included a unilateral ban on its oil exports, before it falls back in line with obligations it suspended. Still in Iran, the government has enforced a 10-day lockdown as fourth wave of the coronavirus is spreading across the country. Authorities ordered the closure of all parks, restaurants, beauty salons, malls and bookstores on 257 cities. Over 85% of the country is designated red or orange zones, with the toughest restrictions in place. The country is grappling with a spike following the Persian New Year, the nation's biggest holiday, which drove millions to travel to the Caspian coast and other popular vacation spots, pack markets and congregate in homes for parties in defiance of government health guidelines. Iranian officials said the daily death toll from COVID-19 rose 155, putting the country's total at over 64,000 as of Friday. And we have more news after one last break. Stay with us. Welcome back to From the South. In the United States, at least one person has died and 7 got injured in the state of Louisiana after severe storms swept across the region. Large hail damage cars in Texas and Alabama. Roads were flooded in Mississippi, and a tornado left behind piles of debris in Panhandle, Florida, where also several other homes were damaged, with most of the destruction being done in the rural community of Palmero. Heavy rains and flash floods are also expected, and according to forecasters, the storm threat is expected to decrease by late Saturday. At least 7 people have been killed after an earthquake hit Indonesia's Java island. The 6.0 magnitude quake struck offshore about 45 kilometers southwest of Malang City in East Java, damaging hundreds of homes, schools, and government offices. Residents of surrounding communities have been evacuated to safety. Indonesia has been experiencing frequent quakes and volcanic eruptions due to its position on the Pacific Ring of Fire, an arc of intensive seismic activity. In 2004, Indonesia experienced one of its deadliest earthquakes off the coast of Sumatra, leaving 220,000 dead through the region.
We were very shocked. The whole house was shaking. I was sitting and it felt like I was thrown up from the chair. I was running away, but then I remembered my elder relative, so I got back and dragged her out of the house in anticipation of aftershocks.
One of India's largest cities, Mumbai, has gone into a new lockdown as the country faces a surge in COVID-19 cases and also shortages of vaccines, drugs, and hospital beds. Restaurants have been ordered to close and public gatherings were banned in Maharashtra, the state and its capital Mumbai, to slow the spread of COVID-19. India has been experiencing a new wave of coronavirus infections and has recorded 1 million new cases in the past week. As a result, the country has also suspended exporting vaccines to give priority for its own population. Hundreds of protesters in Australia have marched through Sydney as part of a national day of action, calling for an end to Indigenous citizens' fatalities in custody. Relatives of Indigenous Australians who have died in custody spoke at the rally, including Kia Paten, whose uncle Eddie Murray was found hanging in his cell 40 years ago, and also Nyoka Chatfield, whose son died in a hospital after he was found unconscious in his cell at a correctional facility in 2017. The protesters come ahead of the 30th anniversary of a report by the Royal Commission into Aboriginal Deaths in Custody handed down a report, few of whose recommendations have since been instituted.
It's an action day today. We've had enough conversation with these dug-eyes. Time for action now. Time to go walk about. Time to start educating our kids. Time to start rising up, starting to take our land back, taking authority back, taking our communities back, taking our kids back, bringing them home, making sure that they're safe.
Today is 30 years into the Royal Commission and they still have not got their justice. This year marks 40 years since my uncle and his life has been taken from him, and we still have not seen our justice. So we will continue to get up here and tell our story over and over and over again until you get sick of us, because you know what? We're not going nowhere!
Thousands of protesters in Serbia have rallied in the capital Belgrade to demand better protection of the environment. Thousands of people gather outside the Serbian parliament building for the so-called ecological uprising against what organizers said is a widespread environmental devastation. Protesters carried banners reading "Cut corruption and crime, not forest," or "Water is life" and "Plant a tree," referring to shrinking green areas in the cities, particularly in Belgrade, where huge concrete residential areas have expanded in recent years. Serbia, which aspires to join the European Union, has faced several problems that include poor garbage management and high air pollution caused by the use of poor quality coal and other pollutants. And we have come to the end of this news brief, but remember, you can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. And also, if you feel so inclined, please join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Telegram. For TeleSUR English, I'm Gladys Quesada. Thank you for watching.